I click on the show channel here over at SubStars. So, as I look at this title, it says the Walt Disney Company to replace, and it's a shame even to include Walt combined with Disney, because Walt Disney had a entirely different direction that Disney would have gone in if he could have somehow lived another 100 years or something. Because there's no way you can look at Walt's Disney and look at whatever Bob Iger's globalist version of Disney is. It's like they're just entirely two different beasts. One is Walt Disney was just a family friendly type of entertainment. If you look at the movies from the 40s and stuff, Fantasia and Snow White, and what beautiful examples of those things were. And then you look at where Disney is now, you realize like, oh, these are like just all a bunch of Epstein Island types. It's like it has nothing to do with the family. For them is the Bolshevik found family type of nonsense. So someone in the comments says something like they're replacing Bob Iger with this Josh guy, and it's like replacing, I'll say, fertilizer with fertilizer, which is exactly what's going to happen. And these people look like they're wearing human flesh suits. You can take a closer. I'll use their eyes as a thumbnail. The more you look at it, the worse it gets. If they're like the 80s TV show V, where they peel off the makeup and there's green scales underneath, that's would you let these people around your kids? I'm afraid they would eat them. So old lizard's out at Disney and the new lizard people are in. And for those of you who don't understand that Disney is well and truly over, this is not the 80s or 90s anymore. If you remember watching VHS tapes and maybe even having a tear come down over those. I'm trying to, my buddy and I were, I don't know, in our 20s or something like that. And we were drinking beer and like crying at the end of some Disney's VHS tape back a long time ago. So the that version of Disney is over. The old lizard person at Disney is out. Bob Iger and Chapek for a little while, and they've got a new lizard couple who look like they would reopen Weinstein Island Part 2 if they could. Disney isn't Disney. It hasn't been for at least 40 years, and even 40 years ago, 96, that was not Disney. It was already infested with termites, but the culture wasn't ready yet for the wokeness that they would have put on it if they could. So they kept all the A113 stuff. Those are kind of hidden messages, hidden in the background messages on their shows. And in 1996, people would not have accepted the movie like The Eternals. And the thing is, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I don't even watch these Disney shows anymore. I just listen because it's interesting to hear someone talk about this kind of stuff, which is the only reason I listen to other people as well. The thing is, it is good to keep your thumb on this kind of stuff. And you don't have to subscribe to Disney Plus or Amazon or any of those services. It's all online. So if you want to go see the Eternals and sit through 90 minutes to go, okay, this is where Disney was when they made the Eternals. This is what they thought would sell, or this is the social engineering message they wanted to put out there. It's like you can see it for free. It's good to understand what message they're trying to convey. And you look at the Eternals, it's like, wow. Why not just burn wheelbarrows full of money? So in the Eternals, which is Jack Kirby's comic, where these computers take raw carbon or whatever and create life. So they create these superhuman Ubermensch type of life, which is kind of interesting coming from Kirby and Lee at the time period. Blonde hair, blue-eyed, superhuman type of things, but they're these computer-built, they're perfect bodies in the comic, and they should be perfect bodies because you're building them. You're combining the DNA from scratch. Except in the movie, one guy is obese, and the other girl is a girl for some reason, and she's also, I think, deaf. So you literally sat down, designed these bodies with. Why would you make, I don't want to say being obese is you just wouldn't, you want these people at the peak of perfection. And that would probably be in the late 20s, 30s, maybe if you wanted some gravitas to the person, 40s, 50s, but they would be in peak physical shape. Who was that guy, Jack Lemmon or something? The guy used to swim all over the place in his 70s to show you. He said, like, if man made it, he doesn't need it. That kind of fitness guru type of stuff. But you wouldn't build in physical problems. Somebody who's deaf and has to use sign language, that you don't design that into the system. But they're so woke. It's like the wokeism just keeps going full circle, and they don't know where to stop with it. So that was the Eternals, and it's good to kind of watch these kind of things. The gay character wasn't that much of a problem, but they were the obese gay character was in a mixed race relationship with another obese gentleman. The problem was that they had a child, and that would be an issue for most people because, hey, where's the mom? We know where babies come from. Did they murder her? Did they eat her? Is she in the background? Did they buy the baby or adopt the baby? It raises questions that I don't think they answered. But the people were in place at Disney in the 1990s. They were slowly using social engineering to destroy society and get people to accept the most vile Epstein level of degeneracy. And we're not all the way there yet, but it is getting close, and there doesn't appear to be anything that is raising a resistance to where they're going. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic, like, when am I not? Look at the standards of accepted morality 100 years ago, 50 years ago, and today, and get your little graph paper and try to plot these points and craft and the line, and you see it's a curve, geometric or exponential, I forget the difference. And then you have to, let's extrapolate this into this dystopian Weimar future, and it's not looking good. So, and there's been very little active resistance. Anyone who forms groups to stop them, they get destroyed as Nazis by the media, who is keeping a very close watch on crushing resistance. So why is this new lizard person woke? And he in 2021 he wrote some soy blog piece where he says everyone is welcome, which is absurd on the face of it. And not enough people stop and break things down when they release these kind of statements, because they go, it's just a puff piece, he's being pedantic, or you're being pedantic to say they don't actually mean what they say. And it's like, well, then why would you say the phrases if when you start breaking down his blog post, none of the things he's saying makes sense. He doesn't actually mean everyone is welcome, so why would you use that phrase? Because it's a nonsense phrase, and so much of what they say is this 180 degrees from their mentally ill, violent, actual behavior, where they physically attack victims while wearing sweatshirts that say, choose kindness. They specifically mean some people are welcome and others are not. Anyone who's off the plantation, the wrong thinkers, are not welcome. And the next part dives into their entirely different worldview, where he uses this term allyship. And this is a thread on the ball of yarn type of thing, because it's a cultural Bolshevik term about oppressor and oppressed. And guess who the good guys and the bad guys are in their worldview? The antagonists look a whole lot like you. It relates to their concept of censorship by punching up versus down, which means they believe in that concept, which they do. They believe in racial classes of marginalization and oppression that are immutable unless you're a wrong thinker, and then they remove that protection from you. It's like, well, that doesn't logically make sense. Yeah, none of the things they do are logical. Everyone can be marginalized and oppressed and disenfranchised and a victim of whatever. Globally, the most marginalized are Christians due to Islamic violence and terrorism. In the West, European men are the most oppressed. That is literally what affirmative action and DEI are all about. Ask them if they support allyship with people of European descent or Christians, or if they stand against anti-white racism and hate. And suddenly, you leer who they really are. Because it's not deep, they just hate European people. The concept of oppressed and marginalized white victims does not exist in their worldview. They need to dehumanize and degrade you so they can do what they're doing now. They're destroying us. The next part he says about diverse views being welcome, except that's not true at all. Most of what he's saying is simply a lie. He means the left-wing views that are in accordance with his worldview are the ideas sought after in their toxic echo chamber of mixed-race sodomy movies. And yes, obviously this is just a corporate puff piece release of nonsense, but it's all in one direction. He's, part of this is like virtue signaling. Virtue signaling is, in a setting like this, he's writing a blog post and he's up for a position, higher up position at Disney. It's just kind of raising his flag that he's on board all the woke talking points. There's no dissent. There's no real diversity of thought at Disney, of course. So he also says they're trying to preferentially support non-white businesses. Well, it's like, isn't that literally anti-white discrimination? That violates federal codes. And he was also against the 2022 anti-grooming bill in Florida under DeSantis, and that was a big deal. 2022 was 2 years into not just the Floyd Summer of Love, but also the Wu flu and kind of the insanity that went along with women being able to police people into like wearing masks and stuff. And the reason like you'd be against that is because Disney's a bunch of Epsteins. Why would you want to talk to children about mutilating themselves, cross-dressing, or sex unless you're trying to turn entire generations of kids into catamites? Oh, takes a close look at Disney. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, resist the reptilians, and I'll see you guys all next episode.